Excellent. We're just letting everyone in the room now. So we're up to 29 attendees. So welcome everybody. Please get a comfy seat. It's going to be a fairly long event, probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's great to see all 32 of you come through. I can see Warren McGregor's in the office. Good to see you, mate. I appreciate your time. And looks like a fair few people are coming through. So we might make a start in a minute, just give a few more people a little bit more time to log in. Nick Strongman, Polo, good to see you as well. Michael Dolphin, good to have you on board. It's an exciting event. It's very, very good to see you all. Thanks very much, Trin, appreciate it. Very good to see you as well. Just some notes here. Please use the chat function. Q&A tab will be enabled so you can use that to ask any questions. Make sure you close any other online programs that you have at the moment. And Firefox and Chrome are the preferred platforms. Safari works well as well. At the conclusion, there'll be a short survey. So if you could please just provide a little bit more time and attention and give us some feedback, that would be greatly appreciated. Well, we might make a start. We've got about 20 presenters sitting behind the stage at the moment. We've got 5 presenters sitting in the front stage. You can see Damien and Brad are here today as well. So we've got a good turnout. Thank you very much for your attendance. And we'll move into the awards ceremony proper. So good afternoon. Welcome to the inaugural Challenge Cup Awards ceremony, proudly sponsored by Fleetwood. Fleetwood and Prefab Oz have undertaken this initiative to try and grow and strengthen our upcoming leaders in terms of delivering value for the industry in terms of construction and prefabrication more specifically. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for their hard work and enthusiasm, the students, the steering committee, Fleetwood, Brooke and Michelle, who are lurking behind the scenes. Thank you so much for your efforts and support, and to the entire Prefab Oz team who supported this groundwork for the Challenge Cup. Without everyone's diligence and perseverance, it wouldn't have been possible, and it's great to have everyone come together, and the fruits of our labours have come through in this presentation today. So without further ado, I'd like to ask Brad Dennison, who's the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer. He actually holds 2 titles, that's how good he is, from Fleetwood, to say a few words, and then shortly after that, Damien Crowe will be saying some words on behalf of Prefab Oz as the chair. So Brad, over to you. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for the introduction, Paul, and obviously thanks for the opportunity to introduce the Fleetwood Challenge Cup. My name's Brad Dennison. I'm Managing Director and CEO of Fleetwood Australia, and we're very proud actually to be the naming rights sponsor and joint co-founder of the Challenge Cup in partnership with Prefab Oz. So look, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This session is the awards ceremony where we will announce the winners of our inaugural Fleetwood Challenge Cup, which is a team challenge designed to discover the next generation of young built environment design professionals that should help to propel this industry into a really innovative future. In particular, I'd like to welcome participating Challenge Cup teams and students who have put in so much work. Welcome to the Challenge Cup Steering Committee and our founding universities and outstanding judging panel. A special welcome also to RMIT, University of Adelaide, University of Wollongong, University of Newcastle and the University of New South Wales, who are also joining us today, and we hope to be able to work with you as potentially participants in next year's challenge. For those of you who aren't familiar with Fleetwood, this is a proud Australian company established in 1964 and listed on the Australian Stock Exchange in 1987. And this company's grown and evolved wood from what some could argue is potentially the earliest iteration of modular mobile accommodation, which is the caravan, to become one of the largest Australian vertically integrated off-site manufacturers and constructors of modular solutions. And importantly, this company is fully Australian owned. The industry that we operate in is complex and dynamic, and it's continuously being challenged to meet the needs of this ever-changing world. And fortunately for us, generating solutions to meeting the challenges of accommodating people and communities is part of the core DNA of Fleetwood. So we're a solutions-focused business who thrives on meeting the challenge to partner and serve our clients. And that's why this innovative competition to find clever solutions is the perfect match for our company. So you might be wondering, why did we kick off this challenge? Well, the answer is simple. We know that the students that are here today are going to be the industry leaders of tomorrow. And we want to build the capability of the next generation by fostering cross-disciplinary collaboration and a thirst for developing building solutions through mixing architectural, engineering, construction and related design streams. A new level of revolutionary collaboration, fresh thinking to push the boundaries to deliver more sustainable, flexible and adaptable accommodation solutions is exactly what this industry needs right now. But I believe the journey to understanding the value the off-site manufacturing industry can offer has only really just begun. We knew a competition like this could not only deliver fresh approaches to solving some of the big issues Australia faces, including housing affordability, sustainability, and the need for flexibility, but from what the esteemed judges here today have advised, there are some absolutely standout solutions developed by the students that we'll be unveiling in just a moment. And by creating a platform for some of the best and brightest minds to be mentored, giving industry participants and students alike a chance to focus on innovation, possibilities and flexibility that this off-site manufacturing industry can offer, we're guaranteed that we'll see breakthrough change like never before. And we're excited to be supporting the development of our next generation of built environment design professionals. So I hope the Challenge Cup has provided you as participants with a good platform to forge your knowledge and skills and relationships and alliances, and that'll help propel and fuel your career and of course our industry for a long time to come. It's fair to say when we instigated the Challenge Cup 18 months ago, we had no idea of the additional challenges we were going to see in 2020. And on behalf of the organisers of this program, I'd really just like to take a moment to acknowledge how skillfully the teams and founding universities have adapted to these extra challenges that we couldn't have contemplated we were going to face even 7 or 8 months ago. So for this reason, I truly believe all the teams are winners here. With this in mind, we actually at Fleetwood decided to contribute another additional special award tonight. We're calling the Fleetwood Industry Award, and it's additional to how we started this program. It'll be an additional $1,500 cash prize, and it'll be presented to a team for meeting the challenge using modular design and construction in a new and innovative way. As well as this, we're also at Fleetwood pleased to provide cash prizes for the top 3 teams. So the overall winning team will receive a prize of $3,000, second place $2,000 and third place $1,000. And creating an experience like this competition doesn't happen without substantial efforts from passionate and dedicated people. And there's quite a few people I'd like to thank in getting this going. Clearly the steering committee who've been instrumental and in helping guide this competition from its inception. So our thanks go to Professor Tuan Yeo, Infrastructure Engineering Development, University of Melbourne, Dr. Duncan Maxwell, Monash Design and Architecture, Monash University, Dr. Lisa Ottenhouse, Structural Engineering School of Civil Engineering at the University of Queensland, Professor Srinath Pereira, Built Environment and Construction Management School, Western Sydney University, Associate Professor Mary Hardy, School of the Built Environment, Western Sydney University, Dr. Mark Dewsbury, Architecture and Design, School of Technology, University of Tasmania, Professor Robin Drogemuller, School of Built Environment, Queensland University of Technology, and some people from my old university, Curtin, Professor Greg Morrison, School of Design and the Built Environment, Associate Professor Francesco Mancini, School of Design and Built Environment, again at Curtin, Lee Symington, School of Design and the Built Environment at Curtin, and finally Professor Ken McBride, Adjunct Professor at the University of Sydney. Also, speaking of people that really deserve awards in this, I should acknowledge Brooke Adams, who has coordinated and put this together. Brooke is the National Events Executive with Prefab Oz, and Brendan Pope as well, who is actually Fleetwood's Head of Innovation and Design. And really, Brooke and Brendan have put a tremendous effort into getting this program going. But this wouldn't have been possible without the enormous support of the 8 founding universities, and our commendation goes to the universities that persisted against the odds to complete the challenge: Curtin, the University of Melbourne, Monash, University of Queensland, and so on. So we thank the outstanding judging panel as well, who've given back to our industry, providing feedback and time to assess this great work from the participants that we're about to see. And in that regard, our deepest thanks and appreciation go to Lawrence Robinson, Director at Brand Architects, Emma Bennett, Senior Structural Engineer at Erupt, John Lachetti, Principal, Stantec Australia, James Murray Parks, Chief Scientist with Brookfield, and Dr. Mark Dewsbury, Senior Lecturer at the University of Tasmania. So look, in concluding, I'm really proud for Fleetwood to have been the founding partner of the Challenge Cup and to play a part in shaping an innovative future for the industry. Congratulations to all the participants, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you very much, Brad. Very much appreciate that. Damien, I'd just like to throw over to you for a few words, if you wouldn't mind. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Thank you, PK. Well, for those that don't know me, my name is Damien Crowe. I'm the co-founder of Prefab Oz back in 2012, and currently hold the executive chairman position with the organisation as of about 2 weeks ago. So that's all been very new and exciting. When we started Prefab Oz in 2012, we thought things were pretty challenging back then, but to say that, to look back now, I guess, it wasn't as hard as we thought. So times are challenging, but, the organisation has moved from strength to strength, and we're in a fantastic position. I really like to acknowledge the work of the board of directors in particular of recent, and particularly to Brad and Paul and John, who are participating today. So we do thank you for your input and continued support for our organisation. As you know, Prefab Oz is a not-for-profit industry body, and we rely on all of our board and our members and events like these to really propel us forward. I'd like to just reiterate a few acknowledgements. A big thank you, of course, to the steering committee. Very much appreciate all of the work from the participating universities who have made this happen, and we congratulate all the entrants for their hard work and dedication. Our esteemed judging panel, your involvement has helped us to create a design competition of the highest standard, so thank you again. The team at Fleetwood and Prefab Oz, and especially Brooke Adams and Brendan Pope, all the work you put in to get us here has been fantastic. We'd like to welcome all of our invited guests, everyone who's participating today, and last but not least, our peers, our family and friends for your support and interest in what we are doing. So thank you all. Prefab Oz was approached by Fleetwood 18 months ago with a concept to discover the next generation of young built environment professionals. We love the idea. Fleetwood Australia are a long-standing member and an active industry player. They have a mutual aspiration to propel our industry forward and understand the importance of introducing prefabrication at the start of the design process. Together, we developed the concept into what is now known as the Challenge Cup. As the peak industry body for offsite construction, Prefab Oz is focused on education, innovation, and collaboration. By partnering with Fleetwood to deliver the Challenge Cup, Prefab Oz has showcased a tangible example of the benefits when industry collaboration is achieved. We are passionate about the growth of prefabrication and the broader construction industry now embracing off-site manufacturing technology and design. However, at Prefab Oz, we see one of the biggest challenges to our continued industry growth is the lack of knowledge in what is a rapidly emerging growth sector of the built environment. With most established professionals in this industry having been educated prior to the technological developments that now allow the levels of BIM and DFMA, Design for Manufacturing Assembly, and the advancement in off-site construction. We felt it was important to encourage emerging talent, and the Challenge Cup is our way of supporting a new generation of young architecture, engineering and construction design professionals. This cohort will play an important role in the future of the industry. When they go out into industry, they will be armed with the tools for the future of construction and will be able to drive change, not only in the work they do, but more importantly, in the organisations they join. We see this as a great way to transfer knowledge and affect real change. So thanks again to the team at Prefab Oz and Fleetwood for bringing the Challenge Cup to life. We look forward to many more years of partnership to further develop the Australian construction industry. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Back to you, mate.
Appreciate it very much. Thanks very much, gentlemen, for your time. And everyone here appreciates the words and the kind support that you've given myself and others behind the scenes that have put this together. And if I could ask you just to transition off stage to the background, that would be fantastic. And we'll move into the next part of the proceedings. So it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed judges. So Brad mentioned previously our judges' names. I'm going to give you a little bit more of an expose on who they actually are, and they will be coming onto the screen. Pardon me. They will be coming onto the screen at some point in the near future to do a Q&A session. So Emma Bennett is a senior engineer at Arup, and she's had 10 years experience in the UK and Australia. She's a chartered structural engineer, and she's delivered many large complex projects. Emma also brings a collaborative and effective delivery mechanism to the concept to the construction process within construction. Unfortunately, Emma's not able to join us today, but we do thank her for her efforts, and we do appreciate all she has contributed to the Challenge Cup. Dr. Mark Dewsbury is the second judge. He's actually quite a recent collaborator of mine in recent times, working on mass timber construction and mass thermal massing more particularly. He's a senior lecturer in Architecture and Design School of University of Tasmania, and his research focuses on methods to improve construction, thermal performance, energy use, IEQ, and condensation risks analysis based on Australian buildings. His work is notarized all around the world, and we really do thank you, Mark, for being part of this. John Lachetti is on the board at Prefab Oz, and he's a hydraulics and fire protection principal at Stantec Australia. He's actively involved in construction industry, and if you haven't heard John speak previously, you will not miss out if you do hear him speaking about his modular construction and the lead that he's taken over many years in the Australian market. James Murray Parkes is our hidden gem. I'm not sure how hidden he is. He's very, very publicly known, but James is an innovative, multi-skilled scientist, an engineering professional offering a broad range of mathematical expertise, academic and industry experience and leadership, and we very, very much appreciate you coming on board today, James. It's been a privilege to have you around. Lawrence Robertson is a director of brands architecture in Melbourne, and he's over 30 years experience in architectural practice. Lawrence focuses on delivery of innovative, environmentally and socially responsible architecture. So thank you very much to all of our judges, and it's time now to proceed to the important part of the event, and that is to introduce the universities. I'm really, really privileged to announce the universities who have participated in the Challenge Cup. In particular, one of the universities, Curtin University, who I'm about to announce, is going to have multiple entries, which is fantastic. And so I think it's important to understand that you can have multiple entries coming through. And if you do have the opportunity to get a team together for the next version of the Challenge Cup, it'll be worthwhile making the most of it and having multiple teams. So Curtin University is in WA. It was established in 1966 as an innovative global university known for its high impact research, strong industry partnership, and commitment to preparing students for future jobs. So I'd like to call up now team captain Alex Godfrey and to join me on the stage, and for John, if you could join me as well, please. And we're going to do a bit of a brief Q&A session around the particular project. And thank you very much for coming onto stage, both of you. Excellent. Hi, John. How are you?
Hello. So the sun's shining down on me.
Right, is it?
Yeah, a little bit better. It is sunny in Melbourne. It's not a minute.
Yes. Alex, are you around at all? If you could join us on stage, that would be fantastic. John, what did you think of the entry?
Yeah, look, I think it's a really interesting submission, certainly very detailed. Obviously, for me, as a services-based engineer, some of the detailed structural calcs go a little bit over my head, but what I was really impressed to see was also the use of life cycle assessment with the e-tool as part of that. So I thought that was a really unique and detailed approach to looking at that whole of life for the building.
Excellent. Thanks, Alex, for joining us. Very much appreciate it. Where are you located today?
I'm in Perth.
In Perth.
Today. It's a lovely day.
COVID safe.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, I'll leave you two to have a bit of a chat. So over to you, John, and thanks for your time, Alex.
Thanks, Paul. And congratulations, Alex, on a really thorough submission. I guess in terms of starting off, I think, we started at a high level. Just interesting to know about, what was sort of the inspiration behind your submission and how you feel it ties into the project brief.
Yeah, so the inspiration for the project was creating a design that obviously met the brief requirements, but also provided high quality living standard and a high level of communal interaction between the occupants. So the idea was to create modules that were obviously assembled off-site and put together and connected on-site, So the key to this project was what was a negative module, which was the space that the occupants could create into anything that they really wanted to do in terms of to create a communal interaction. So as you see in the document, there was some activity spaces, a barbecue area. So that was really the heart of the project, in that trying to create a successful environment for the occupants. And the material palette chosen also tried to reflect the brief requirements, in that it's very modern and quite reflective of the surrounding landscape, so it can fit really anywhere. And the use of CLT as a structural core meant that a lot of materials were able to be attached to the exterior of that facade.
Beautiful. And I think, I guess, going further into that, and I guess into how you went about the design process. I guess someone who's been in the industry for a while, I certainly am constantly reminded about how early collaboration with different disciplines is really important. I wouldn't mind if you could share with the audience a little bit about how early collaboration with the structural side of things enabled you to shape your project outcomes and inform your design.
Yeah, so working with a structural engineering team was actually, I felt, beneficial for this, very beneficial. It helped set out parameters for the modules and how their building could be structurally viable. So it meant that through an inclusive design method, structural stability and flexible design solutions were able to be achieved. So through setting out a grid for the modules, the loads will be able to transfer straight down. But this grid also meant the flexibility within the modules. They could go anywhere, and like with flexibility, I mean, it could go sideways, up, down, across. They could be on the outside of the building or on the inside. So that really was beneficial for setting out that beginning point. It was also important to understanding like the thickness and size of structural members, because that could then inform the scale and proportions of internal spaces. So the beam, for example, above the mezzanine also divided the spaces clearly and was used as an architectural feature also to enclose the ceiling cavity. I think definitely a better design outcome was achieved through working with the structural engineers.
Perfect. And I think the use of CLT as a material is really interesting, something I've had a little bit of experience with. What's your take there in terms of how that goes from a user interface point of view and a healthy buildings point of view?
Well, I think it's a very good building product in that it also has a very nice facade element that you can use. You can use it on exterior, interior, so it creates a nice feature, but it can also be used as a structural material. Its thermal properties are pretty good as well, with a little bit of cladding and insulation, so that it's a very flexible design material and quite a good in terms of life cycle. It's not as bad as, say, a concrete that's they're not really recycled that much.
Yeah, certainly being a material that I guess entraps carbon as opposed to creates it, and its manufacture is certainly one of the big positives.
Yes.
Now, Paul, I don't know how we're going for time, so you just give me a nod.
A few more minutes. We're actually a little bit ahead of time, so if you've got one last question, that would be great, John. And yeah, great project, Alex, just by the way.
Yeah, I think maybe just in finishing up, maybe you could share a little bit with us about the life cycle assessment that you carried out and what you learned from going through that process.
So I did that through eTool, and obviously that's a very good software for learning all the different materials and what goes into creating that material. So you can't just have, say, a normal CLT wall. You've obviously got to seal it. You've got to put into the construction of it and everything like that. So it's good in understanding from start to finish a whole material process, and especially as the brief outlined that a building that was almost recyclable and could be taken down and moved sites. It was interesting to know how the materials, everything that went into them, and then how they could all be reused again then as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, and thanks very much for your submission. And John, excellent questions, and I'm really interested to have a look at that tool at some stage, Alex. So keep us informed about how you can get access to it, whether it's a proprietary system or something else. And congratulations on your submission, the team's submission. If I could ask you to please depart and go off stage.
Thank you.
Group on. Thank you very much for your time. All right, next up, we've got another curtain team. So this is team 2. So I'd ask Lawrence to please come onto the stage, and David Chen, if you're available, please, that would be fantastic. And you can give us a bit of a rundown on your particular project. There you are, Lawrence. How are you? Hey, there you go, David. How are you? So I'll leave it to you, Lawrence, to ask some questions of David, and thanks very much for your time this afternoon.
No worries. And hi, David. Hi, Paul. Yeah, I found this a very expressive design and very interesting use of modular construction and some of the structural elements. But I guess what interested me most about this competition was the ability for teams to collaborate. And so off the back of one of John's questions about that early collaboration, how do you think the collaboration between your team and between disciplines shaped the project outcome for you?
Yeah, so I think it was great that the different disciplines were able to meet early and talk about the overall concept of our project. So instead of the architects coming up with a design and then the engineers disapproving it after everything has been designed, we were able to talk and eliminate the designs that were not feasible from the start. And luckily for us, our group all agreed on the design quite early, so we were able to spend more time on the small details.
And do you think the design changed or changed how you would have approached it, having the rest of the team involved?
Oh yeah, definitely. The engineers gave me a lot of suggestions on like what can we do, and what, like, especially the material side. They really, I think they really helped me decide on like what materials were good and what weren't, what was better for the project. Yeah.
And your entry is one of the ones that really, in terms of expressing its modular nature, was very forthright. And I was interested to understand how you felt that sort of delivering a project like this offsite can bring value to the community in terms of design.
So the idea of offsite production has a lot of benefits. One of the most obvious benefits is can be noticed like when we commute to the city, is how loud and disruptive these construction projects can be, and how they make the roads congested over many months. So by reducing the impact that these construction processes have, and by reducing the time frame of these construction, many of the ongoing product impacts are removed or reduced for the community. And offsite production also means that these dwellings can be mass produced, which greatly reduce the costs of each dwelling and makes it more accessible to more people. And this doesn't mean that the living spaces will be bad. It just means that it will be more affordable, and it's kind of the architect's job to make these spaces better.
Great. I don't have any more questions, Paul. If you wanted to pass on to the next one, that was.
Thanks, Lawrence. I actually have one question, David. How was it that
Yep.
your group all agreed on the one design and the approach?
So I think it was I don't remember who suggested it, but the stacking of the modules and then the way it's laid out, I think someone suggested it. I don't remember if it was me, but we thought it was a really good idea and we kind of just stuck to it from the beginning.
Yeah, and I think that's in the true sense of collaboration, that's the important part, right, is to pick a pathway and then follow that pathway through. And I think from Lawrence's questions here and the investigation within the project from the judging panel, that's a significant contribution to what you did. So congratulations on that. Lawrence, thank you for your time. David, thank you for your time. If you'd like to just move off stage, please, I'll introduce the next group. So the next group is the third submission from Curtin University, and I'd like to invite Mark Dewsbury and Georgia to please join us on the stage here. And Mark, you're going to have some questions for Georgia. There you go. Welcome, Mark. I see that your office is still quite messy. Georgia?
Yes, I need to do some housework, don't
I? Yeah, you do.
Is Georgia still connecting?
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
think she's just coming up
That's
now.
right.
Mark, what did you find quite interesting about this particular project?
Oh, I just think there were lots of many really interesting aspects. And I guess aside from the prefabrication and modular considerations, there was how they were looking at using mass timber and solid timber in a different way on the facade system, which was quite interesting. And I guess like many of the designs, its presence is quite iconic. It would be a very impressive building in an urban landscape. So yeah, so well done team.
Excellent. And Georgia, are you still there in the background? Can you hear us at all, or can you talk? No, having some technical difficulties there. Mark, what were some of the inspirational aspects of this particular design that captivated your attention? You mentioned that you could see it in an urban setting. What else did you find that was interesting about the project?
I thought there was a wonderful collaboration between the engineering team and the architectural team. The engineering documentation was quite comprehensive, looking at connections and various aspects of how these different elements would come together. And from an architectural perspective, the document was full of amazing renderings. I think many of my own students will be looking at wonder at many of the renders of the interior and exterior renders of the project. Something I'll be showing my students next as a preemptor for next year's competition.
Excellent. Yes. Well, it's always good to adapt from another university, and probably Curtin's one of the better ones to adapt from. That's not discounting all others, but in terms of the Challenge Cup, they've got multiple submissions. And I think the interesting thing that you mentioned there is this collaboration between the architecture and the engineering. Of course, more popular now than ever are archineering courses, so architecture and engineering combined courses. Do you think that the way that education is transitioning into this collaboration between architecture and engineering and almost blurring the boundaries again, going back to its roots, do you think this has got great prominence?
I think in the modern world, teamwork is, I guess, if you look at any successful engineering or architectural or any design business or entity, the collaboration between the different skill sets and disciplines is a really critical aspect of a successful business. And even within architectural practices, we say it's not the architect, it's a team of, might be a person who understands the regulation, another one understands structures, another one understands how to do the business side and get people paid on time. It's each of those specialists that make the business work. And disagreeing with an engineer doesn't get you very far at all.
Yes, understand. Look, we've had some technical difficulties with Georgia, so we're going to move along. Thanks, Mark. And look, thanks for your time and thanks for being a judge on the judging panel. But if I could ask you to move backstage, I don't have a hook to get rid of you, but if I did, I would certainly use it. And thank you very much for your time, my friend. All right, on to the next presentation. So if I could ask for James Murray Parks and Zoe Yo to come onto the stage, please. This is Curtin Team 4. And we'd like to say thank you very much to all the submissions from Curtin. James, it's over to you when we have everyone else on stage. Just wait for Mark to leave, and we will ask Zoe to come on to the stage, please. There you are, Zoe. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How's everyone?
Yeah, good, thank you. James, over to you to ask Zoe some questions, please.
Oh, hi, Zoe. How are you? My name is James Murray Parks, and I work with Brookfield and Multiplex and all sorts of people, all the people who are part of the Brookfield family. So I'm an inventor, so I love, novelty. I really thrive on it. And, I really found your approach here really, really interesting, and it struck a chord because of the elegance became a byproduct of really clever thinking and efficiency, and there wasn't a lot of double handling. So, I felt your project really embraced that approach. Can you talk us through, the process to deliver such a novel design? What process did you apply here?
Yes, thank you, James. I guess the whole intent behind my design was to really challenge what is done every day and sort of really propose something that's almost experimental, something that really blends architectural concepts with structural engineering. And I guess what inspired it was the research done into DFMA and DFD construction systems. And I guess the idea was just, if we're going to assemble and deconstruct the system, why not celebrate the structural systems and turn it more into an architectural gesture?
I'm biased. I love your design. I think it should be.
Thank you.
Wonderful. It was so refreshing. It was really good. I love that you didn't hold back. You didn't put out any stops. You went with your heart, and the way you presented in your little video there too. You spoke very quietly, very subtly, very honest, and there was no hype. It was just beautiful honesty, and I thought it was a great design. Elegant designs are always a byproduct of the passion and the careful thought and consideration and honesty that go into them. And, your design exemplifies it. I think it's wonderful. I don't really have any other questions for you, apart from the fact that whatever you did, keep doing it. It's bloody fantastic. And if you ever want a job, give me a call.
I was going to ask you the same question, James. I was going to say, do you think that Zoe's Murray Parks material for the lab, I guess, and you've answered that.
Yeah, fantastic. If you ever want to work in New York, Newcastle, or Melbourne, that's where we have our offices. You're welcome.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Fantastic. And Zoe, congratulations. That's important accolades from an industry person who's significantly notified for being in very much in the forefront of advanced thinking and innovation. So congratulations very much. James and Zoe, if I could ask you to please transition off stage, please, that would be fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Zoe. And just to make a mention that Curtin had Team 5. Unfortunately, we don't have a representative from that particular project here today. However, we will move to Curtin Team 6. So that's 6 entries for Curtin. And if I could ask John Lichetti to come back on, please, and Jonathan Forbes, if you're available, if you could jump onto stage, that would be fantastic. And here you can see the entry on the slide. Just waiting for everyone to come on. Hey, John, good to see you back again.
Howdy, good to be back.
John and Jonathan, this is encouraging. Multiple Johns on the screen. Just wait for Jonathan to get his visuals up. There you are. Thank you very much for your time, Jonathan. Thanks for the submission. Over to you.
So say that again, Paul. Sorry.
Yes, just over to you, mate, just for a couple of questions of Jonathan about the project, if you wouldn't mind. That'd be great.
Jonathan, congratulations on getting your submission in, and what is quite another comprehensive submission is quite the queue of projects from Curtin Uni, so very busy bees over there. When we look at the 3x3 house, there was definitely a sustainability thread running through your project. I guess the question that I've got for you is, how do you see offsite playing a role in delivering that sustainability in construction?
Yep. Well, the way I saw the offsite construction was the ability to have a really controlled environment, controlled setting, and then allowing that, transferring that to the production of the materials, essentially. So if we can produce and manufacture architecture and these mass engineering materials in this real controlled setting, it reduces, the need for waste and then allows opportunities for recycling and reuse of or upscaling materials to future projects. And then it also opens up opportunities, for Industry 4, like CAD/CAM, CNC routering to, get exact measurements correct so there is no wastage. And with that in mind, offers new opportunities for thinking about construction. I tested, adding a wall cassette panel as a cladding option to the design. This was originally, I think it was designed by a New Zealand studio called, I think it's called Wandering House. And they tested this technology, and I thought it'd be really interesting to put that at the forefront of the project.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it was very, very interesting use type. I mean, and certainly a strong timber feel coming through again. And it was very interesting for me to see from the use of, from CLT to glulam to cassette and the different skins as well. I think it was really interesting usage to give, I guess, what, that outcome was really a contemporary looking building, really contemporary looking building, but giving that variety. So I think kudos to you for that. Talk us through a little bit about, I guess you've touched on it, but if you go into a little bit more depth about that project inspiration and which parts of the brief you think you've really hit on.
Yeah, so I kind of started at the beginning of the project. I kind of looked at a lot of Norwegian architecture firms and how they've approached modular construction. For example, like Effect Architects and Nord Architects, coming out of predominantly Norwegian countries, and they almost have this kind of playful approach to modular construction and breaking the preconceptions that it's this heavily standardized, dull way of constructing. And what the project, which I found really interesting, was saying that no, you can have fun with it, and that kind of led to having a bit of a play around with this idea of 3x3, and breaking apartment living and medium density living or houses into their main constituent parts, the bedroom, the living, the dining, and then letting those modules come together. So yeah, it was really just kind of having a bit of a playful, fun approach to it, and it kind of led to new design opportunities. So within the 70 square meter brief for the I think it was the 1 bed 1 bath, I could come up with 6 different variations, just like plugging and playing kind of thing. So I thought it was kind of a unique approach to medium density housing and really fitting the requirements of the brief and just providing a real positive way of living.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Matt, and thank you for your submission.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jonathan, and thanks, John. Appreciate it. If I could ask you to please wait off backstage, that would be fantastic. And we have finished with Curtin University. So that's 6 entries from Curtin University, 5 that got presented today, 1 which will be held over. And you can get in touch with Brooke afterwards if you'd like to have a look at the 5th entry from Curtin University. Unfortunately, we didn't have a presenter available today. So now on to 2 universities that are very, very near and dear to my heart. So the University of Melbourne and Monash University following that. And then we've got finally Queensland University is the last university in this section. So University of Melbourne, firstly, established in 1853. The university is one of the only sandstone universities in the state. It's got a public-spirited institution that makes distinctive collaborations in society and research, learning and teaching and engagement. It's also home to the Prefab Oz Camp H ARC and has recently been party to, along with Monash University, the Building 4.0 CRC. So I'd like to welcome Lawrence back to the stage, please. Kenneth and Shoyi, if you could please come on to video, that would be fantastic. And join me here to have a discussion around the entry from the University of Melbourne. Good to see you again, Lawrence. Thank you for sticking around and lurking in the background.
It's been very interesting.
Yeah, so you might want to give us a little bit of a brief on this particular project while we wait for the participants to come onto stage.
Yeah, I found this one particularly interesting because it wasn't architecture, it didn't appear to be architecturally driven so much. It had a real sense of multidisciplinary effort involved, and the real focus on the process behind the construction and the structure, I think, was very different from the others, and showed a lot of innovation in the way they approached that.
And what did you think that was specifically different to the other entries that you've actually looked at here? What was the essence of that difference, do you think?
Well, I think there was a process, the whole idea of the process from the start of design through to the completion of the project, and thinking about that process and how it happened from a structural point of view, from a manufacturing point of view, and making a viable project, I think was something that was a little bit different from some of the other entries.
Okay, and if Kenneth is available, and Xiao Yi, if you're available, please, and you can come onto stage and have a bit of a chat to Lawrence, that'd be great. Is that your background there, Lawrence? Or is that
my dog going spare? I think Posty must be going past.
Fantastic. Anything else notable about this particular entry that stands out to you that you'd like to just share with the audience?
I think the way the site was planned was quite interesting, and one building but actually felt like two, and I think that the way that the circulation worked was quite good. But yeah, it was one where I really felt the team got together on it and worked well together as a team. And I guess that was what my question was going to be about, again about that collaboration, which I think is really important in a project like this.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, we're just having some technical difficulties with Kenneth and Xiao Yi in the background and trying to get onto stage. So what we might do is ask you if there's any comments that you would like to make on top of what you've already spoken about before we move on, and then we'll move to Monash University.
No, I'm happy with where we got to.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for coming back on again. And I'll ask you to please depart and wait in the wings, and we'll move on to the Monash University entry. So if I could ask James to come back on. This is important university to represent, James. And so James, Enzo and Georgia, if you could join me on stage, please, from the Monash University team. Monash University was established in 1958, and they believe the quality of their education and research to be part of building a better world, which is a fantastic and noble venture to have. So thank you very much for your time again, everyone. James, I'm just waiting for you to come on board. Georgia, good to see you. Enzo, good to see you. Thank you very much for your contributions and your project. Maybe you could give us a bit of an overview of what your project was about and what you were trying to achieve, please.
Yeah, we might just start briefly with a kind of poem. Inspiration began with site flexibility to allow for reinstallations and accessibility. A modular MEP block that would save countless hours on the installation clock. These volumes where facilities would come to pass, electricity, water and gas. Multi-programmed for communal engagement, the MEP units doubled as seating and pavement.
Well, very, very inspirational. You're going to enter that into a poetry competition. Georgia, what was the most important thing about the project for your project?
Are you going to ask any questions or not?
Yeah, go for it, James. We can't see you, but you can certainly ask. We can hear you now. Thank you.
I can see me on here.
Excellent.
It says I'm on, but hey guys, look, I'm really biased because I'm a professor at your school. All right, so I don't know how I got you guys, but I'm glad I did. You know, really good to see Monash, and I'm torn because I'm a Western Australian and I really want Western Australia to win, but I like Monash too. I love Monash. So look, I think what you did was really interesting. You know, I don't really understand sort of you know, and maybe you can help me here. You know, sort of, you know, how did the brief, you know, challenge your learning in prefab? I mean, did you really approach this in a prefab mindset, or did you sort of just try and make a prefab thing work because that's what you were told to do? Or, you know, was this an organic sort of, you know, organic process for you, or how did it come together? No answer?
Georgia, do you want to go? Okay.
Come on, Georgia.
I suppose we sort of started just doing some research on like the current prefabrication market and so looking at some precedents to sort of get some inspiration. And I suppose sort of that's where we sort of came across this idea of sort of centralizing the services in these MEP risers to sort of save on cost and time during construction. I don't know, Enzo, did you want to add anything else?
Yeah, I think we did begin at the outset thinking about prefabrication, but I guess the level of resolution could have been furthered by a bit more kind of a deeper interrogation with some of our precedents. Although we did look into a lot of them, we drew a lot of lessons from precedent being an architecture only team. So we had to kind of quickly gather a knowledge base through precedent rather than through, I guess, engaging structural engineers or that kind of thing. So, yeah.
So you don't really feel that you sort of you became a sort of a team. You didn't team up with the engineering group at Monash.
No, because we were kind of entered in with as part of a unit, or like we entered ourselves in, but as part of an architecture unit. So we were kind of focusing more on the kind of conceptual moves rather than the complete or totalizing approach.
Yeah, and that shows, right, in your design. So I'd really like to encourage you guys to branch out. This is something architects don't often do. Good ones like Ken McBride do. They make friends with their ginger beer friends, right? Ginger beer is what Ken calls engineers, right? So get together and make friends with your engineers, because your design needs some engineering. It really does. A lot of it's a bit fluffy, but really, really good. Think about how you can come together, and think about, an orchestra, how an orchestra's got lots of different musicians. It's got composers behind the scenes. It's got conductors. It's got everything, and it comes together as a real consortium, right? So it doesn't really matter who gets the name on the top of the design. It matters what the design does. And I think you really need to start to think about that in the future. It'd be great to make friends with your engineering cousins, because you're going to have to work with them when you get out into the workforce. So do it at university, because Monash University engineering faculty is arguably one of the best on the planet. I know I'm part of the group. It's really good. Go and see Professor Yu Bao. He's lovely. He's a little Chinese man, and he's known as Barry. And he's a beautiful, beautiful engineer. Go and see him. Great job.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you very much. And Enzo and Georgia, thanks very much for joining us on stage. We do need to move on, but thank you very much for your time. And if you could ask you to please transition off, that would be fantastic. And we're now going to transition to the first of two Queensland or University of Queensland presentations. So the university was set up in 1909. University of Queensland is also a sandstone university, and it's one of Australia's leading teaching and research institutions, and they strive for excellence through the creation, preservation, transfer and application of knowledge. And if I could ask John Laschetti to come back on, please. Could I ask ZD to come on, please, and Patrick, if you would join me on the stage, that would be fantastic for the UQ Team 1 presentation. So welcome back, John. It seems like we're meeting quite often, and maybe we should not meet so much. Looks like he's frozen.
Hello.
There. Yes, can you hear me, John?
Can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Patrick. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Hello, can you
Hi,
hear me?
Patrick. Can you hear me okay? Hi, Patrick. How are you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. John, can you hear us?
Yes.
Excellent, John. So Patrick's on stage. If you can see him there, fire away with a series of questions for Patrick, please.
Roger that. Patrick, you rest at ease. You're one of those friendly engineers that James was describing, so nothing to panic about, mate, here. Congratulations on your submission of the link pod. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a really novel idea. And James Murray Parks actually spoke about novelty being really key to innovation. So I guess just to start us off, can you talk us through your process, your ideation on coming up with such a novel design? And as a starting point, really keen to hear about that.
Yeah. And so all of our team members, we are very fascinated about the plug-in and plug-out, like in mobile architecture. So which really minimize the on-site works and also gives that like a flexibility to different sites. So I think this idea fits the brief very well. So in our design, each module is a living like a functional unit by itself, and one can stack on the other up to 3 stories, and they can be rotated and linked like a chain. So the design process will really start with like those building blocks, like physical models. We're playing around it, and we find the most challenging part is how to make people feel they are not living a confined space, like living an isolated space. In most modular buildings, and we want to create a sense of community with modular structure. And so we created those kind of structure. It has gaps in between, so it becomes roof gardens naturally, and it not only provide green and insulation, but also, it gives the openness of the structure, that people can have interactions among neighbors, and also create those passive surveillance to the great community.
Fantastic. Yeah, look, I think for me, some of those interesting points was, you really, in your submission, laid out the entire life cycle of the whole process. I think there was some consideration in that, from, having an inventory of link pods and the whole piece. I think that, I enjoyed the physical models that you'd actually presented in your submission, and you'd actually played around with something a little bit more tangible. And I'm wondering if you've got a patent on the term pineapple ring connector. I thought my mate on the bottom of the screen here, James, is the only one that comes up with fancy names like that. But tell me, so with the pineapple ring, if we can call it that, and that sort of static portion of your modules connecting, how do you see that working in with the building services? I found that the submission delved into it at a level, but I thought it was a really interesting concept of having something that was dynamic and be able to move and assemble in lots of different ways, but also having that static portion that really works with some of the building's fundamentals, where you need some stuff not to always be moving for it to function.
Yeah, you're right.
Service concept.
Yeah, of course. So that is a key part of our design, which is very challenging. And we are a team of multidiscipline. So we work very close with the engineer team, which is ZD is a captain. And so the reason to have the service call at the center of the rotation circle is because we want to achieve this plug-in, plug-out function, and also to achieve this rotation system that can create endless combinations, arrangement of modules. So to achieve that, is that my background noise? Sorry. So our engineer team just they work really hard to create those connection rings and to make those services and those circulation spaces really valuable. And and still under investigation. So because we need more, after we investigation this part issue, we think we need more consultant to come on board to solve those hydraulic engineers or mechanical engineers to really make it available as a whole piece. But I really appreciate the help from engineer team. Yeah.
Excellent. And James is on screen at the moment. James, did you have a question for Patrick?
I just wanted to say, well done, Patrick. This was one of the most novel things I've seen. Whether you like the design or not, for me, was of no consequence because it was just the connection system was so novel. And, you know, the fact that you really dominated your design around the connection was just really, really fantastic. In forensic investigation work that I used to do when I was studying, most of the failures that I used to travel around the world and investigate were at the connection. And for someone to actually spend and dominate so much of their energy on the connection and let the building evolve out of a connection was just brilliant. I thought it was great. Well done.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's some high praise from James, Patrick. John, we do need to move on. Patrick, we do need to move on. Thank you so much for your time. James, thank you for coming back on and those kind words. If we could ask you to depart backstage again, please, while we announce the last entrant for the program this afternoon. And so UQ have had a second team, and I'd like to call Mark Dewsbury, the judge, to come on with Lawrence and Williams, please. If you could please join me onto the stage, and thank you very much for your support, and just waiting for Mark to come on, and Lawrence and William to please come on. Hi William, how are you?
Hi, good, thanks.
That's good. Can you give us a little bit of a descriptor about your design on the project, please?
Yes, so our project is based on we can aim to develop one affordable housing. So we adopted this hexagon-shaped concept, which is inspired by the honeycomb. Because the honeycomb structure is a brilliant engineer works from nature. So we apply this as our basic structural architecture and structural form. And also in our facade, we also apply the same pattern, and it can create a very awesome appearance of this structure, of this whole building.
Excellent. And what were the materials that you proposed to build this structure out of? Is it something sustainable that fits with your sort of biomimicry from the bee cell, I guess, the honeycomb cell?
Yeah. In our building, we mostly use engineering product like the hydrants, CLT, and SI and SIPs, such that. So those products can perform a very high sustainability and durability. So I think those smart materials can keep the whole building housing in a really high performance maintenance, or maybe in any other stage over the life cycle.
Excellent. And I understand that your teams, the two UQ teams, worked across different continents and different time zones, which would have made it very, very challenging to bring the designs together. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it. Mark, welcome back. It's good to hear that the internet's working in Tasmania again.
We'll call it Bass Strait. You know?
Bass Strait. If you had a question for William, that would be fantastic.
I do. And thank you for doing the introduction. That was wonderful. And William, wonderful. The honeycomb housing was a really interesting and really innovative approach. So I thank you for your submission. So in that context, I guess I was often pondering, you know, there's the honeycomb, and then there's the exploration of human forms. So what was the inspiration, and how does it tie? How does your design and it's how it's been developed? How does it tie to the brief?
Yeah. So because of the honeycomb cellular structure is can have a strong bearing capacity and high material efficiency and cost saving. So we apply it as our basic architectural form and also the structural form. We aim to provide one innovative choice of the affordable housing is the viability, sustainability, and flexibility. So the first one, the viability of this project, is presented in the innovative hexagon form, which is inspired by this honeycomb. So the appearing shape with its freedom leaves the viewer an impression of creativity and reminds the users of this building to have a new look for their life. So with the arrangement of this unique shape, there is lots of communal spaces created in the neighborhood and also on the rooftop. Therefore, the users of this building could have more entertainment space when they keep when they have to keep social distance and unable to go out, especially in this special period. So secondly, the sustainability of this project is mainly demonstrated in the overall form and construction method of this building. So the cellular structure contributed to a great amount of engineering benefits in capacity, material efficiency, and cost saving. And with these 6 side plans, increased ventilation and natural sunlight comes into our interior spaces in comparison with the traditional 4-side plans. So our structure also presents a high potential for modularization, as each HESCOM components can be regarded as a volumetric unit. The connection between could be achieved through the integral mechanic joints, such that less labor and no massive machine is required on site, providing a low-cost and environmental-friendly construction work environment. And also, the honeycomb shape can provide various options and possibilities in different arrangements of the modular, which maximize the flexibility of this project. Therefore, the whole building can be easily adjusted to different landscape, orientation, and numbers of capacity in various conditions. In terms of the how our design tied to the brief, I think the material we mostly use the engineered products, which can perform in a high sustainability, durability, and versatility. And the offsite manufacture with our design is tended to be implemented under an automatic control system, which can provide real-time feedback and promote the working efficiency. All the sub-assemblies geometries will be generated from digital tool and manufactured from CNC or robotic machine. So the barometric unit manufacturer tend to form an industrial production line. And in terms of the construction, it shows a high potential of sustainability. The building modularization design is the structural assembling process, particularly with the integral joints, which only require a simple alignment work on site. And relative study also demonstrate that the embodied energy and the CO2 emissions is much lower than the conventional on-site construction. So nevertheless, our structure is also designed for deep construction, which allow the honeycomb housing to be assembled and relocated to another site. So our honeycomb housing can provide such characteristic, and so I think it's pretty close tied to our brief. Yeah, that's it for this question.
Excellent, thank you, William. Appreciate that. Mark, did you have anything else to add? No, it looks like he's frozen. Hi, Lawrence, how are you? Looks like he's frozen too. So, look, thank you very much, William. I appreciate that. Thanks very much. It sounds like you had some challenging times to get the submission together. We very, very much appreciate your time and energy and effort and the entire team to bring your presentation together. And thank you very much. So I'd ask you just to turn your camera off and move backstage while we move to some important announcements. But thank you very much. I very much appreciate it. If I could ask Brad to come back on stage, please. So Brad Dennison's the MD and CEO. He has those dual titles for Fleetwood. I'd like to thank the judges from all of the universities that have had some contribution within this particular submission of awards for participant entries for the awards. Outstanding achievements by all, and certainly some standouts that have been notarized by, in particular, James's comments and important feedback, which was fantastic. So, Brad, if you are back on stage, fantastic. Good to see you again. You're looking very sharp and dapper.
Thank you very much, PK. Can you hear me?
You're welcome. I'm going to hand it over to you now to do the important awards announcements. And so I wish all of the entrants and participants well, and fingers crossed that your entry becomes a winning entry. Over to you, Brad.
All right, thanks, PK. I just got to say though, overall with this, I'm blown away. The creativity that I've seen today, and particularly when I worked through all of the documentation over the last few days, it's fantastic. There is so much passion amongst this group of people, and I can see real proper attention to the design brief, and in many cases, architectural teams collaborating with engineers, is a brilliant thing to see. You will see that will be a key part of your careers once you get out into industry. So A good example at Fleetwood, for example, we have in-house architects and also use outside architects. We have inside designers as well, people like Brendan Pope, for example. But we also have some limited in-house engineering and also use external engineering. And that integration between the two is an absolute key to get an efficient project. And it's key to getting a concept front and center for a client. So I think I've seen some really inspiring things here, and really proud to be supporting this program. So without further ado, I think PK's got the slide up there. I'm going to work through it in the reverse order. So I was going to start with the Fleetwood Industry Award and then work back to third, second and first. So look, again, it was a really tough choice to select the winner on this category. A lot of debate. Ultimately, the Fleetwood Industry Award is going to a team that has offered a very inspiring and novel take on the design solution, embraces the core values of the competition, prefabrication, relocation, and it is Curtin University Team 4. Congratulations.
Fantastic. Well done.
Okay.
Well done, Paul.
And one of the things that really got me on that particular one was the concept of it being very much like a number of the projects relocatable. We're seeing in the industry a big part of product that we're actually seeing practically built actually is required to be relocatable. For example, mine camps. They might only stay on a mine for construction workers for 3 or 4 years, and then they get completely relocated. Actually, just a little interesting quick anecdote. I was over meeting with some people in the States a couple of months ago, and they can't believe that we would transport modules a distance equivalent to from Dallas to San Francisco over there, and that's just standard in Australia, particularly in Western Australia. So well done for that, guys. Brendan Pope was going to be here to present the other the three main awards. Unfortunately, Brendan's got IT challenges. So I'm going to start with third place. And third place goes to Curtin Team 1. Well done, guys. Congratulations.
Well done, Curtin Team 1. Well done.
That brings us to second place. And second place goes to University of Queensland Team 1. Congratulations.
Yay, congratulations, University of Queensland.
And first place winner of the inaugural Fleetwood Challenge Cup is University of Melbourne. Congratulations.
Woo! Well done, University of Melbourne.
There you go. Well done, everyone. Terrific entries.
Fantastic. Well done. That is fantastic. And yes, sorry, Brendan couldn't make it onto camera. Brad, and that you got the honours to do the announcements, which is fantastic. So thank you to all of the participants. If the University of Melbourne team is available, if you could transition onto the screen, front of stage, we'd just like to ask you how you feel about winning the award. So anyone from the team at University of Melbourne, please come onto stage. That would be greatly appreciated. And just while we're waiting for someone to come on, Brad, the quality of the entries is significant, and certainly some of the achievements within some of these projects is industry leading. Are we going to be doing a second Challenge Cup in 2021?
Absolutely, 100%.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
And look, I think we had terrific response with. I think we had 8 universities participating, and others that were obviously on the call today. But no, I'm more than happy for us to continue to sponsor this. It's a terrific event. The level of passion and the level of smarts actually in some of what we've seen was fantastic, and I'm blown away. So really look forward to doing it again, PK.
Excellent. So does that mean that we can double the sponsorship awards to get double the teams in for next year, Brad?
Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see.
Sorry for putting you on the spot. If there's anyone from Melbourne Uni that would like to come on and just say a few words on behalf of the team, that would be fantastic. And while we're waiting for that to happen, I just want to make a few people aware that Prefab Oz is currently got a bit of a membership drive on at the moment. And we were trying to configure some sort of an offer to try and support people. But if you were to get in contact with Brooke, either via email or through the phone number or other means through a contact form on the website, and just ask, what might the special offer be for this month, we'd be very, very pleased to support you and give you something of value that would be additional to what you would normally get in becoming a member for Prefab Oz. And also just check for the website for all the updates. There's industry news, events, etc. that happen. And we're constantly in the forefront of what's happening specifically in Victoria at the moment with COVID stage 4, but also more generally with the construction forums that are happening around the world, locally here in Australia, and our connection to the politicians and all of the work that's going on with, for example, schools initiatives and things like that. So, Brad, you're a big part of the Prefab Oz team on the board. We'd like to say thank you to Fleetwood, firstly, for all of your support, and to all of the students and the people that supported with entries in this year's challenge. And next year, we're going to be bigger and better. More importantly, we'd like to say thank you very much to our judging panel, who have spent a significant amount of time putting together, a review of all of the projects. And there's certainly been some fantastic entries this year. Let's hope next year we can top it. So thank you to all of the judges. Thank you to Michelle and Brooke that are behind the scenes, who've been making sure everyone gets corralled. It's not easy to corral 25 or 30 people at a time. So we'd like to just say thank you to all of them as well. To Damien, the rest of the board at Prefab Oz, to the executive team, Po Lin, Teresa, Brooke, Michelle, as I said before, thank you very much for your support. And hopefully we'll be able to see you soon. Lawrence looks like he's coming on board, or no, he's gone off again. So we're having a few technical difficulties with all of that. Brad, thank you very much for being a sponsor for the awards, and thank you for providing some commentary today. You did very, very well, and I understand you've got an engagement to go to after this, so we won't hold you up. But thank you very much again. And thank you everyone for joining us today for this ceremony. This has been a fantastic turnout. We had over 70 people sitting on the line, which is fantastic. And we look forward to seeing you all at some point in the near future. So thank you very much for your attendance, and have a great afternoon. Thank you. Cheers, Brad. See you later.